Welcome to the Penfield Central School District 2021-2022 budget overview. I'm Tom Putnam, proud superintendent of the Penfield Central School District, and I'm joined by Dr. Dan Driffill, our assistant superintendent for business and finance. The purpose of this recording is to provide a brief overview of the district's proposed budget, which will be voted on by the community on May 18th. The Penfield Central School District is very proud of all of our academic achievements. Our schools are all ranked across Western New York, and the Penfield Central School District as a whole is ranked third out of 67 area schools in 2020 based on 4 years of test scores. In addition, our seniors graduate from Penfield with tremendous skill. Last year, our graduation rate was 98%. 73% earned an advanced designation. Beyond academics, Penfield Central School District has always focused on the whole student, and we do that through music and sport and extracurricular activities, including our girls basketball team, our boys volleyball team, and our ice hockey team that all won sectional championships. Cheerleading this year, for the first time ever, won county championships. So way to go to all of our incredible Penfield students. We offer a lot to build a bright future here. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Dan Driffill.
Thanks, Dr. Putnam. So when we start out building the budget in the fall, we always develop a set of parameters and guidelines to help us meet some objective criteria and goals. We have longstanding commitments to academic achievement and excellence here at Penfield within one of the lenses of the whole student experience. We always try to leverage community partnerships where available. We maintain a commitment to fiscal responsibility. This year, more than ever, our commitment to technological capacity has shown through. We have a longstanding commitment to reasonable class sizes. We like to have operational efficiency across all the realms of our district's domain, and we commit to investing in staff through professional learning to meet ongoing standard expectations with New York State curriculum. So without further ado, here's our proposed expenditures for the 2021-2022 school operating year. The entire budget comes to $104,343,650. That represents a $1.7 million increase, or 1.68% year over year. By and large, our budget is derived from our staff and personnel. So between salaries and wages and employee benefits, that's about 3/4 of our budget. The next biggest component of our budget is BOCES services through Monroe 1, Monroe 2, Wayne Finger Lakes, Erie 1, and Syracuse area BOCES, followed by contractual services, debt service obligations through principal and interest payments, equipment and materials related to instructional rendering, and then interfund transfers to support our cafeteria program and our extended school year summer program. And here again is just a visual representation of those proposed expenditures in pie chart format. So where does the money come from to support those expenditures? By and large, about 2/3 of our budget revenue comes from the local tax levy. So that's about $67 million for next year. One of the things you'll see right away is that the levy as a component of our entire district revenue is a flat amount this year. So that 0.02% is just an increase in the expected pilot payments that we are to receive for next year. Pilots, if you're not aware, are payments in lieu of taxes. They're negotiated on our behalf by the County Industrial Development Agency. I'll speak a little bit about why we're able to keep the levy flat in a moment, but you can see that second row, New York State Education Aid, is projected to increase over 10%, or over $3 million. And that's the biggest reason why we're able to keep our levy flat on a dollar for dollar basis for next school year. County sales taxes are projected to increase a little bit. We are able to share county sales taxes from Monroe and Wayne County. So that will get back up to speed as the economy improves in the local area. All miscellaneous revenue is everything else related to insurance payments, refunds, admissions, driver's education payments, money that we receive on our bank accounts, items of that nature, all other items. And then assigned fund balance, again, due to that big increase in state education aid scheduled to decline about $1.5 million or 77% year over year. I do want to note that there is, like last year, no necessary supplemental revenue coming from our reserve funds or from any of our other funds through interfund transfers. Again, showing the revenue budget as $104,343,650, that $1.7 million increase, or 1.68% relative year over year. And here are those revenue sources again, just in graphical format. So as I mentioned, New York State Education Aid was really the key driver in this year's budget development process. I would encourage anybody who's interested in diving deeper into this to go to our website at penfield.edu and check the budget 2021-22 quick link on the left side to look at our budget presentations throughout the spring and budget videos. You can see that next year's school budget calls for a 10% increase, or over $3 million in state education aid. That's the biggest increase that we've received in quite some time. And again, the key driver and why we're able to keep our levy flat for next year for all of our community residents. So as I said, the Board of Education, when they ultimately adopt their warrant come August of this year, will have no new additional tax levy dollars as a required revenue component of next year's budget. So the levy will stay flat at the 2020-21 amount, the current school year at $66,895,988. So when the board ultimately adopts the tax warrant later on this summer, it will reflect a 0% increase in the local tax levy. So what does this mean for our residents? So Penfield Central School District is a little bit complicated in that we have 6 localities within our school's geographical boundaries: Penfield, Perryton, Pittsford, Brighton, Macedon, and Walworth. The thing that we as a school can control is how many tax levy dollars we actually receive. So this year with the 0% levy increase, the thought would be, okay, the taxes will just stay the same as they were last year. But that's where it gets a little out of our control. So the 2 primary reasons outside of the levy that drive the tax invoices for residents are the equalization rate, which is determined by the state. The equalization rate is the calculation between what your assessed value is and what the perceived market value of the property would be. So you can see in the last couple of years that there's been a general decline in equalization rates as home price values have increased. And next year's tentative amounts reflect that continued decrease. The one exception for next year is Walworth. So Walworth has, as a town, gone out and done a reassessment of their properties. So you can see their equalization rate is scheduled to go from 86% to 100%. So what does this actually mean for tax rates for next year? I think sometimes there can be confusion with how a tax bill is calculated. So I think this is a helpful graphic for our community to understand where these calculations come from. So our 2 biggest localities here in Penfield Central School District are the town of Penfield and the town of Brighton. So let's take an example where you have an equal house, equal property market value of $250,000. One of the houses is assessed at $185,000, and one of the houses is assessed by the town at $250,000. What this means is that the house in town A, with their lower assessment, will get a state equalization rate of that 74% number, and that'll artificially enhance the tax rate to that 27.03 figure of $1,000 of assessed value, whereas the house where the equalization rate is at 100, so the assessment theoretically matches the market value, has a lower tax rate. The key point here is that just because you have an assessed value of $185,000 in one town and an assessed value of $250,000 in another town, those rates are calculated differently. So by the total taxes due is equal between the 2, even though they have the different assessed value. So I think that can sometimes be a helpful reminder. So for our next school year, based on the 0 increase in tax levy, here are our forecasted tax rates for all of our 6 towns in the locality. We currently project Brighton to have an increased tax rate of about 2%. Penfield, a decrease of about 0.8%, Perryton, a decrease of a little over 3%, Pittsford, an increase of 1%, Macedon, an increase of a little over 7%, In Walworth, because they had that reassessment and assessments going up, the tax rate comes down 15.78%. So it's important, I think, for all homeowners to look at what their taxable value was last year, look at what their taxable value will be this year, and then make that individual calculation to see what sort of effect you'll have on your property from next year's school tax bill. The thing we look at as an objective data point is that true value tax rate. So that takes all of the taxable assessed value within the Penfield Central School District to come up with one stable objective rate, and that's scheduled to decrease 72 cents per $1,000 of assessed value, or a little over 3%. I only say the asterisk here with a caveat that these are preliminary numbers. Assessments are not final until July. State equalization rates are not final until July, and the Board of Education does not adopt their tax warrant until August. So while these will change a little bit, they're good. They're the best projections that we have at this point, and we think that it's important for the community to be informed of where things currently stand. So here's just another balanced budget of the year-over-year differences between planned expenditures and the supporting revenues for those expenditures. So just quickly, some key budget takeaways. There are no programmatic or staffing reductions in this budget. We're able to provide the same high quality services that Penfield Central School District has been known for. With that increased state funding, we're able to provide a $0 change in the tax levy for the community. We have flexibility built in to navigate what is certain uncertainty with the coming year. We've learned that school districts are not immune from economic conditions on both the expenditure and the revenue side. So we have a margin of safety built into this budget to be able to provide for all of our expected academic services. And then finally, we actually have some new whole child investments contained in next year's budget. So the district is currently looking for an assistant superintendent of equity and access. This would be an individual that will be charged with a district-wide perspective of implementing diversity, equity, inclusion efforts across staffing, curriculum, and all operations relevant to our district's charge. Additionally, we are adding 1.6 FTE of social workers. One of those 1.6 is devoted to a district-wide perspective, and then the other 0.6 FTE is devoted to specifically in school resources for our kids and families. So in addition to the school operating budget on May 18th, as Proposition 1, we have a couple additional ballot propositions for the community to consider. The first of which is a land purchase. This purchase of a property of 40 acres at $802,000 is at the northeast corner of Jackson and Plank. The district contracted for this property with the intention of putting a further vote to the community later this fall to build a new transportation and buildings and ground facility. This money would be paid from an existing 2016 capital reserve, so there's no associated tax impact. There's no need for future dollars. It's already been set aside. The third proposition is a bus purchase from our capital reserve for buses. So in accordance with our bus replacement schedule, we're looking to buy 7 large buses this year at a maximum aggregate cost of $870,388. $390,388 of which is coming from the reserve, and another $480,000 has already been set aside through general fund appropriations. The fourth proposition is for a new 2021 capital reserve for buildings with a maximum reserve authorization of 10 years or $25 million. The district currently has 2 capital reserves, a 2014 and a 2016 capital reserve that are fully funded according to their approved authorizations. If successful this fall, those 2 reserves would be completely going towards as a funding source for the new project. And then also on May 18th, we have our Board of Education election. There are 9 candidates for 3 open seats, 3-year terms, and 9 candidates will appear in the following ballot order. So again, in accordance with state law, the 3rd Tuesday of May, Penfield, along with other districts in the area, will be holding their budget vote and board election. We have extended hours here in Penfield of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Voting takes place at Penfield High School gym. And again, as I alluded to earlier, there's much more information regarding our budget, the budget development process, videos, presentation materials, and public budget packet with required disclosures available on our website at penfield.edu under the budget 21-22 quick link on the left-hand side of the webpage. So with that, Dr. Putnam.
Thank you, Dr. Driffill. And thank you for watching our 2021-2022 budget overview. Please remember to come out and vote on May 18th at Penfield High School. Thank you.